So it is a small exercise here that I was going to put through, but unfortunately, it's not gonna do anything for us right now. So January pod kind of dropped the ball on us and did not do anything whatsoever as a planning once come to this meeting. And unfortunately, right now, there is no one from January pod. What I was hoping to do is just make a couple of minutes of silence to make them feel that they missed out on doing something for all of us, which in turn, hopefully they don't do it again. But as I said, unfortunately, none of the January pod is in here, so I don't know what does that tell us. Hey, I did have a backup plan because I care about all of you and I know all of you have a very valuable time and we want to make it very productive. Next week, as of Monday, I think they're going to open up the restriction a little bit. So there is a possibility that we might be able to go back to Century 21. By the show of hand, do you think it's too early? Should we wait a little bit longer? Or do you think, guys, let's try it and see if we can get it back again in Century 21? So show me with your hand, Century 21, who likes that? Okay.
Are you talking about in-person meetings?
In person, yeah, and will be
Okay,
Zoom.
so for the February pod, we are setting up Zoom meetings.
Awesome, thanks, Adrienne. However, even if we do it in person meeting in Century 21, usually we have Zoom available also.
Yep,
So,
then just let you know that the speakers are planning to attend via Zoom, and some of us obviously still will be as well.
yeah, which is awesome because we do have a very good screen there. Even if we are together, we have big screen, we can see the speaker a little bit bigger. But however, the question is not here or there. The question is, would you like to go back to Century 21 if that's available? So I only had 2 people say yes and the rest didn't say anything. Does that mean wait a little bit longer, John, or should I
Well,
go?
next week is still January.
No.
Well, no, after January 31st. Next Monday, everything is open. Not everything is open to certain restriction. Yes, Brenda.
I personally would like to wait a couple of weeks at least, only because with Omicron being so contagious, I'd rather just give it a little bit more time until things settle down a little bit more personally, but that's just my thought.
I respect that. Okay, so we have only 2 who says yes, the rest is hesitant. So we'll take it. Lee, go ahead.
I have to agree with Brenda. I think maybe 2 weeks wouldn't hurt.
Okay, sound very fair. So the next wave or the next restriction lift over, I think it's going to be in February
21st.
February 21st. So maybe we'll revisit that by that date. How about that? Okay. So sound very fair. So I'm not going to do anything till a week before February 21st, and we'll talk to each other before that, and we can judge it at that time. Okay. Now, here is something that we are getting closer and closer to launch point right now, which is our Rotary tiny homes, which is some people will call it pathway to prosperity. I believe the next move right now, because I'm hearing lots of emails coming toward me. So the next move for us is to invite the Tiny Home Committee to visit our club in a meeting to let us know a little bit more about what's happening and what's taking place, what, where, and when, type of thing. So for us, when I invite these people over, I like us to have questions ready to ask them. Because remember, this is a Rotary project. So each and every one of us, his or her name is going to be on this project. Even though by vote from my board of director and yourself as member, you're going to vote for me to sign on your behalf, but that's a signing on your behalf. So actually your name, it's going to be part of this project. So we need to ask the proper questions. Now, here is some kind of, we're going to do some small brainstorming tonight and do some questions that you might have. By the lift of hand, you can lift up your hand. I'll give you the floor. You ask the question. But when you ask the question, also you got to tell us, why do you ask this question? What is it that you are trying to accomplish from that question? Okay. So don't ask the question, is it going to be Thursday or Friday? Unless if you know why is it Thursday or why is it a Friday, okay? And I think this session is recorded, right, Doug?
Yes,
Okay, so what I will do, I will watch the session again later on, and I will write down those questions. And then when the committee come by, we can ask these questions. And also, this will give us a chance to think about this subject. And when you go home or after this meeting, if you have other questions, you can send us an email to all of us, and then we can fill up more questions on this email. So when the committee come by to visit us, we say, here are the questions that we like to ask you. Here's the thing that we need to understand a little bit more. So to start up, I'm gonna give you an example of a question type of thing. Let's say the question that I have in my mind, how many tiny homes this project will involve? Is it 10, 15, 25, 50? The reason why I'm saying that question, because I want to know if are we housing only 10 people or are we housing the entire homeless people in Woodstock? That's what I would like to know. Is this project going to start with 10 and then goes up to 15, 20, 30, and so on? Or is it going to be 10 and it's going to stay there? So here's one of the questions that I have in my mind that I would like to ask the committee. So that's the example. Ask the question and tell us why you're asking that question. So the floor is open. If you lift up your hand, I will let you speak.
Can I answer that question?
Adrian, you're not representing the committee right now. Unfortunately, you are with us. So if you come up with questions, yes, we would like to hear from you. It's going to be time that we're going to invite you and your committee, and you're going to answer those questions. So today is not answering questions, otherwise we'll take forever. But today is to fill up the question that we want to ask your committee when you come by and talk to us. Is that
but
okay?
John, if I could suggest, John, though, let's do our questions. And if we still have some time, I'm certainly interested in hearing Adrian's answers to the questions as best she has answers, because her comments, if we have time at the end, her comments may provoke additional questions.
Okay, I respect that. So in the end, Adrian, you will have the floors if we have time. Right now, put your thinking hat and ask questions for us. So, question.
Of course, my interest is around the financing, and I would be interested to know what fundraising strategy the committee has been working on. Well, A, how much is this going to cost? And B, what is the fundraising strategy going to be?
Thank you. And why do you ask this question, Doug? What are you afraid
Well,
of?
because, well, two reasons. One is, do we have enough resources to raise the sort of money that they're going to look for? And B, would it rob against some of our other projects that we are doing or that we want to do? And would it have the risk of consuming our whole club just for this one project? So I think that is a danger we want to, be aware of. I support the project totally, but this isn't the one and only project of our club, and we want to make sure that we know what our strategy is going in terms of how much it'll cost and how we're going to fund it. And then the second part of my reason in asking is, if it's going to be a ton of money, what is the thinking in terms of how much per head is it going to cost? And if it's going to be mostly donated and not a big cost, then that's fine. If it's only like 10 or 15 people, but if we're going to spend 200,000 or 300,000 just to look after 10 or 15 people, is that a good return on the investment of our time and energy and funding for such a small number? Or do we need to be looking at other alternatives, as you said at the start, to look after 50, 60, 70 people? And so those are some of the questions in the back of my mind.
Thank you, Doug. Thank you.
I'd like to ask a question.
Yeah, Bill, go ahead.
Will these units be into compliance with the Ontario Fire Code?
And why do you ask that question?
Because it's very important for the life safety. Ontario Fire Code deals with these type of occupancies. Is it going to have fire alarms, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera?
Now, with your background, Bill, if we don't see these points, would they let us put people inside those tiny homes anyway?
I
Or
don't
would-
think
would we-
so.
So there would be some kind of penalty for that?
Well, it's like any occupancy, especially today. Your house has smoke alarms, right?
Yes. I hope so.
Double.
My
You should be.
wife is very hot, so this thing keep going. so I
Yeah,
don't
and
know.
you should be testing on a regular basis.
Mhm.
And then there's other things to look at. When they build these units, what's inside as far as construction. And then you deal with the Ontario Building Code. And then there's such things as they recommend how far apart each unit is, et cetera, et cetera. I know I told you, you don't know, but my life career was dealing with both codes. The Ontario Fire Code, very important, and the Ontario Building Code. So that's what I'm asking.
Code or court?
Code, C-O-D-E, code.
Thank you. Thanks. Bill.
Very,
Thank
very
you.
important.
Thank you, Bill. So I may suggest, like, you know what, you are a very good asset for us in this project, and so we might be able to use your help a little bit more. So you kind of sign up for full time for the Rotary community, but I think you're going to be overtime right now on top of it. Thanks, Bill. Thank you
No
very
problem.
much.
No problem.
Another question that I have in my mind, Brenda, you go ahead. Sorry, I was just taking the time. Go ahead.
So with my insurance background, I guess my question would be, how will this property be insured and the homes be insured for liability? And who will actually hold the policy on it and pay the premium for these places to be insured, and what will they be insured for? Like liability, or will they be, like, they'll have to be liability and some kind of physical damage coverage for them in case something happens to them?
That's very good. Brenda, is there any way that I can share our policy with you, and then you can educate us if the Rotary policy will be enough to have enough umbrella to cover a project like this, or we have to sub-coordinate another policy out of that?
It's going to depend. It's going to depend on whose name is on, who actually owns the property, who owns the property, and who's, because you have to have an insurable interest in it in order to be able to cover it.
Okay.
And I'm sure that's something they've probably looked into, but that would be a question I would have as to how is, depending on the piece of land that they've got, whoever is owning the land is going to have to certainly have some kind of insurance. If we're leasing the land or paying any kind of lease, who's doing that? And they would have to own the policy for the liability and that sort of thing. So.
Thank you. So it seemed like that's going to segue us. There is lots of cost involved on having a project like this. It's not just building the tiny homes and then getting Bob and Mary to go inside them. There's a little bit more involved after that. So we need to come up with a committee and ask them, how much is that cost? Did anybody thought about per day, how much it's going to cost us to make this project viable or available? So per day cost or operational cost per se.
Well, and what Brenda just said, that springs off into a separate question as to who is going to own all of this stuff after we fundraise and pay for it. Who's going to actually own it? And then like you just said, the operating cost, the sustainability in terms of going forward of paying the insurance premium, paying for any security or utility costs. I'm sure that they've thought of all this, but we haven't heard much in the last few months.
Okay. Who's going to own it? Can you explain that for me a little bit more?
Well, Rotary is going to fundraise and buy it and pay for it, and will presumably get in-kind donations. So I can't imagine the cost will be that great. But at some point, when Rotary gets this set up and running, and presumably we will withdraw. I can't see us funding this thing ongoing in the future once it's up and running. Is the county going to take it over and fund the operating costs? Is the county going to own this? Will the individuals each own their own? Will the property owner where we have it have any rights to the ownership? Like, who's actually going to own these tiny homes and the central meeting hall that we're planning in the thing? I'm guessing this has all been figured out, but you know, these are just questions that obviously some people will have, and I'm guessing that the committee has already anticipated many of these questions and they've got committees working on them, but we really do need the membership to you know, have some better communication so we know what's going on if we're going to commit to it.
I agree with you. And I think this jives a lot with what Paul always says, is like Rotary's function is to make a project, get it going, take it to launching, and then find a vehicle that get it going all the time or sustain it at all time. So thank you, Doug. That's a really good question, actually. Paul, you have your hand up.
You know, as a corollary to what Doug just said, depending on what numbers they're talking about having, I'd like to know what they plan for the washroom facilities for both the men and the women, if there's such things, or is it a common one? And how many units, you know, basins they're planning, how many toilets are they planning? We need to know those numbers too. And that all ties into the building code as well as to how many people are using it. So it's a double jointed or triple jointed question, because it's all going to tie in properly.
Why would you ask that question right now, Paul?
Why do I ask it? Well, I mean, you've got to, if you're going to have people sleeping in 10 units or 20 units, you've got to have facilities for them. And so I want to know what they've planned for the number of people that they're planning on building for. And if it's only for 10 people, will it be expandable if they decide in the future to enlarge the operation?
That come up with something that I had also, you shed some light on it. We are talking about something that, you know, sustainable. And are we talking about these things, we're gonna build them up, and how long they're gonna last? Like, what's the lifespan of these things? Like, if we're building up a wooden shed, is it 2 years, 3 years, 4 years? And, or if we have a piece of lot, how long that piece of lot they're gonna give it to us? And also, if, let's say, the piece of lot that they give us, or the location that we have is only good for 2, 3 years or 4 years because of a lease issues or whatever it is, are these tiny homes movable? So can we take them from one place to another place? So thank you for your question, Paul. So I'm going to put the washroom facilities and lifespan of those tiny homes, and if they are transportable.
Well, if they're portable, you can't. It's pretty difficult to change the you know, the facilities, the basins and toilets and this sort of thing. That becomes very involved.
Yeah, unless if they put them in a kind of Lego idea, like the washroom can be separated from the kitchen, can be separated to, like, you know, there is a new ways of building stuff right now. They put them kind of like small pieces that they put together type thing. So I don't know if they're using that or not, but they might be able to talk to us about this one. Or if they don't talk to us, those are good questions that we want to bring up to the table and ask them to. They might not have all the answers for us the first time they meet us, but here is a good question that we will say, here's our question, here's why we want to know those answers, and then hopefully they will come up with the answers for us at a later date before we sign, before we put our name into it. And we'll make sure that, I want to make sure that you are all comfortable doing that, because that's your name, as I mentioned it from the beginning. I want to make sure that we all are comfortable to say, yes, we did this one, and we are backing it up to the end. Lee, you have any question? Paul, you lift up your hand. Lee, 1 second, please. Paul, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if what they've done in the way of deciding about, are they leasing these units to the individuals who are going to be there? And have they drawn up any sort of contract to present to these people, or what their qualifications are to obtain, you know, the use of it? And that's obviously, I'm asking that question because that all comes into the economics of it.
These are very good questions. I think some of the less fortunate, they are less fortunate, but there's still some money coming to them. So your question is leasing it or contracting it is make a lot of sense. This way they will feel some kind of ownership or some kind of responsibility toward that, and just it's just a place that I can use and leave type of thing. So if the minute you start paying rent or lease, then you know this is a home, and then you're gonna come back to it again and again. But if I go to your house and you don't charge me anything, I feel like I'm just a guest. I can come in, do what I want, and leave, and I have no attachment to it.
Well, I don't think the idea of having these units available to them is the same as what they're doing for the Inn of the Cold. I mean, anybody can go there, and if they're in the right number, they can get in, and there's no obligation. But there's an obligation. If they're going to own and occupy one of these units as so-called their home, then there's an obligation that they've got to attend to.
Thank you,
John,
Paul.
Peter's already explained this in the past, how it's going to be, how they're going to be, they get an additional amount when they have an address, and that amount is going to go towards their cost of the unit. So I'm sure that's all taken care of.
Well, let's hear about it updated.
Awesome. Yes. Okay. Sound very fair. Angela, did you lift up your hand? Do you have any questions? You are gonna unmute yourself first of all, Angela. Unmute. Thank you. Do you have any questions that you feel
I guess my question would be like, how long the intention is for each person to stay? Like, because I know it's supposed to be meant to be transitional for them to move on into other more permanent situations from there once they're able to access all the social services. So I'm just wondering like what the intention is, or if there is any set intention of how long they would be occupying the unit for each person.
would it be fair to say you asked this question to find out if those guys are moving on, moving up in their life?
I believe that is the intention, that they're supposed to be there transitionally to get things more organized and get in touch with other services so that they can find more permanent arrangements stemming from there. I'm just kind of wondering like what the timeline is projected to be, like how long they'd expect them to live in the unit for.
Do you think there will be a formula on something in this way, Angela? Because like what happened if the guy is not ready? You throw him out, we tell him your 6 months is up, get out of here?
I'm sure it would be a more flexible target, but I'm just wondering if there is a target at all and what that might be.
Thanks. Okay, I'd like to hear from Lee and I'd like to hear from Adrian. Lee, you gotta unmute yourself. Adrian, if you want to speak, also unmute yourself. Go ahead, Lee.
Well, as far as the homes are concerned, I don't know what the committee has done, if there's been any location for them. And if so, has there been approval through City Council?
Okay, so these are, with all due respect, Lee, I think these are not the questions that we are kind of trying to brainstorm in here. Obviously, I shouldn't say obviously, but I think the committee will make sure that it is answered or this is looked after before we start the project. So first of all, they will have all the right permits for sure, and they will have the location for sure. And before they start the project like this way, we're not going to be able to start project without having permits and without being in the right side of the law, being the Woodstock City bylaws and permits, everything. But thank you, Lee. But I think the minute that the committee is going to talk to us, they're going to say, okay, here's where we are at, and that will answer those two questions for you right away. Adrian, I see you unmuted yourself. Do you have a question there?
No, I'm just waiting for when you guys are done your questions, and maybe we could just touch base on these, and then we'll get a better answer to you guys when we respond.
Awesome. Thank you, Adrian. So far we have around 10 good questions, very valid and good questions. And as I said, this exercise is not meant to be only for here and that's it. This exercise is going to be put on an email that we can all respond to and add questions as they come. But these are the kind of targeted question we want. We want a specific question, and we want to know why you asked that question, okay? So it's very important to know why you asked that question. So this way you can shed some inside light for all of us to understand your train of thought. And when we understand your train of thought, we will be able to answer that one. And the better we give you the answer and think about that, obviously, the better we can move on and make this project more viable and a better project. Adrian, you have your hand up.
Can I answer some of the simpler ones to answer?
I will give you the floor. If I'm going to ask one question before I give you the floor. Anybody else have anything right now, or can we talk to Adrian for a little bit and then we can come back again? But if anybody have any question right now before Adrian takes the floor, go ahead. Yeah, Angela.
Also just kind of wondering about the operation of the site. Like, I know in some of these developments, they have like residents themselves are kind of regulating the activities going on at the sites. Like a couple people would be sort of designated as the leaders, or are we going to have like some sort of staff there all the time to kind of keep an eye on people, or how is that part going to work, I guess?
I like that. That's very, very good question. Thanks, Angela. And it's kind of like you're talking about, are we going to do it kind of like the co-op module type of thing? People that they live there, they have to do some kind of volunteer things so they can keep up the place and so on. Or are we going to hire people to do A, B, C, D, and so on type of thing, right? Thank you, yeah. Angela. That's very good question. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. So from here, I don't see anybody lifting his hand. Adrian, the floor is yours. Just bear in mind, if somebody have a question, you can lift up their hand, and Adrian will give us the permission right now to speak. So
right. Sorry, we guys. I think maybe it would be good to actually maybe keep one of those meetings coming up for us to actually present to you what we've been working on, because we've been working on this for almost 2 years now, and it's a very collaborative project. So in terms of all these questions, we haven't just come up with it ourselves. We have a site management committee made up of experts in these areas, whether it be human services from the city or from the county, sorry, as many branches that we could bring in, we've brought in on this. In terms of how many people on the site itself, that comes from researching so many sites that are actually existing right now. In terms of wanting to help 60 to 70 people at one time, we've really been told you need to focus down to 10 or 12 at a site. Now, the idea of this project, maybe it itself doesn't serve 60 to 70. It's a model that can be replicated in manageable numbers at multiple sites. In terms of us asking you guys for $200,000 to $300,000, no way. If you guys want to donate towards the project, the Fish Fry is very grateful. We much appreciate it, but we're on our own standard here to fundraise and source out the money. We're not expecting Woodstock Rotary to fund this project in any way. What we do appreciate is being able to use the name as a charitable organization that really helps out in many fronts. So 10 to 12 units, 1 communal building, 2 washrooms, not labeled as gender specific, but with showers and facilities, a kitchenette, an office for services, the existing services, to come and meet with people on site so they connect. They get that chance to meet one-on-one at where their home is. These are secured cabins, and it'll be a fenced-in site with secured entrance, no visitors. There's a lot of concern with visitors actually causing more trouble. So unfortunately, at the get-go, it'll be people living there only. It'll be a program, so they enroll in the program. It's not a lease. As a program, if they don't follow the rules that they sign on to, they can't. In terms of the rules, the expertise on the site management committee, they will, they've basically been working on it to make up, how is this going to run? In terms of who's going to manage it, definitely we're looking to have some of the tenants help with managing this site because it gives them that chance to learn governance. In terms of fire code, we are working tightly with the building department, and we have experts on our committee in construction, such as Michael Sheehan, but also in building materials. We're really we've been researching, we have an expert on materials themselves, and we're really researching what's durable, what's going to last, what's worth the money, how can we build this, what size, what's needed. There's been so much that has gone into this. It's crazy. So I'm just trying to give a whirlwind answer here. Insurance, we found it. It was hard. It also, so the owner of the site has it, and so do we. And it is both liability and property, from what I understand. But we have found that, we've worked that through. We have a memorandum of understanding for the site. Let me see, is there anything else? Okay, so in terms of stay, it's considered a transitional housing, although we call it transitional shelter, because it's not quite a house, right? It's a stepping stone towards housing, because a lot of people right now aren't maybe ready, or we don't have the room right now in terms of transitional housing for them to step up just yet from emergency shelter to transitional shelter. So we're a stepping stone in the middle. For transitional housing, the deadline is 365 days. However, you can re-enroll in the program. And our point right now isn't to kick anyone out. Everybody has their own time. Some will be ready to move early and some won't, right? But moving someone out early isn't going to help them out. It's just going to bring them right back. So we don't recommend that. There's other really good things going on here, guys, that you should know about too. We're looking into a methadone program for people willing to enroll in this service. There's someone willing to come on site and help with methadone for those who are suffering from drug dependence. There's no getting clean when you're out living rough and you're suffering from addiction. I don't know if I answered the fire code, but I was talking about being hand in hand with the building inspector. These will all be inspected units, even though they don't meet size requirements. They will be to code, insulated to code. And fire is a big one for us as well. We will be in part of the agreement that they sign on to is not to interfere with the fire, to have daily check-ins to ensure that the fire safety is met. And there's even we've even thought about, some places had a light on the outside to show, if there was something that was tampered with or not. So there's things that we can do, because it is, somebody's going to want to turn off that smoke detector or whatever. So you have to think ahead of everything that can happen. Even the contingency planning itself is a big part of this project. So I hope that we do get a chance to meet with you guys and kind of go through, what we've been doing, and also answer these questions in better, because I don't have the specifics for you right now. I'm just kind of giving you an overhead. So there's so much funding that's available for projects like this because of the great need right now, especially. So you only see that increasing in terms of funding that's available. So we're really hopeful that we will line up. In terms of, okay, so another question was on marketing. We have looked into marketing with a local entity that does marketing in this area, and she's willing to help us at a price, but it'll be part of our budget as well. I have a lot of ideas for marketing, but I know she'd do better. So, yeah, so keep those questions coming. I hope we can see more of what you guys are thinking. And yeah, in terms, this project itself isn't the pathway into prosperity. It's just a piece of helping to make one, right? So right now it's hard to get through for people. So adding these stepping stones only help out, right? And interconnect people with the resources that are out there. So is there anything else that would be good to touch on before we maybe formalize your questions, and maybe is there anything that I've said that might have sparked some more questions from you guys?
There's Lee that had a question for you, and Adrienne, go ahead, Lee.
Yes, Adrian, we had talked briefly about getting together in Century 21. I'm wondering, is it possible that once we get together and talk, that we could get the committee that you're working with to our meeting so that we could finally get some something concrete on, and ask them questions and get some concrete answers from them?
Yeah, I think that's what I'm trying to say too, is we need to do that now. From the questions here that you guys really need. And I did pass over to Doug that he could take care of the last 2 meetings in February. Doug, is there an opening?
We've been booked in February now for 2 or 3 weeks, so excuse me. We should get on top of the March pod, because I haven't heard. I think Tom Hemsworth's captain of the March pod, if I'm not mistaken, and he was on our February pod, and we haven't heard from him, so I hope he's okay. So we should be trying to get an early March meeting scheduled for this. Hopefully by then we'll be back to in-person meetings.
Yeah, that would be good. I'll reach out to Tom. I've heard a little bit from Tom because he was part of the February pod as well. So
okay.
Let me reach out to Tom, and we'll see if we can get something sooner than later for you guys, okay? And if at any point you have any questions or ideas, you can, I would be grateful if you just reached out to me as well, okay? But we can get a formal meeting together. There's so much work that's been done. We do have some documents available that I could share as well, if you think that would be useful ahead of the meeting, so that will bring you up to speed. We have a continually updated document that I think we would be allowed to pass along as well. So why don't I ask our committee about sharing that as well, and we'll hopefully see you guys all in the March pod month. Okay.
Again, I have a good news actually. March pod would be Tom, Bill, and Steve. So that's the people on March pod. So if you want to connect with them, and then we're gonna be the next week. I know we have a speaker coming out, but we do also have a small club assembly that we're gonna do it like very briefly, and then hopefully we'll be able to do. We'll be able to get back to the March pod and tell them, ask them if there is any planning, and we hopefully will be able to pencil in one of those meetings too. Now, one of the questions that pops up in my mind, if we're talking about 10 to 15 people, and we're talking about, even though you kind of mentioned down, there would be some kind of fundraising outside the club, so the club is not hooked for the money part of it, and so on. But if we're talking about 10 to 15 people versus $250,000 to $300,000 project, is this the going thing in life? Like, I know that there is lots of money available, and the government throwing the money.
I don't think that is our cost. That's just the number I heard Doug mention there. I think these units are, like if I had to ballpark it in tens of thousands, it would be 10,000 maybe for a unit. So one person, $10,000. Is that worth it?
That's not including, that's only the tiny homes, not including the facility that's correct?
but we're looking to fundraise the other building, which is also transportable. And yeah, so it might seem like a lot for an initial cost, but there'll be years behind it. And I think we will also be looking for fundraising or grants towards site management as well. I personally hope that we can find enrollees that will help with the site management, but we might be looking at something more than that, a trained person on top of that as well. So we have a big budget lined up too that we can share just to show you the numbers. I don't have them on me and I can't speak towards them, but in terms of this type of project too, it's not just about the money, but about the style. The reason for choosing this style of tiny home is the security that it gives to people and the feeling of their own place. When you have a building or say a bed, you don't have that same sense of security. Even the hallway in some places can be a scary place to be. So you have this open space, security cameras, you know, and then still the sense of community with the community building and programming and food and such. So there's a lot to it, and we'd be so happy to share that with all of you.
One more thing that pops in my mind. Obviously, we need to, obviously the committee have vehicles in place that the money is going to be in the bank before we start a project like that, right?
Right. We'll have to have the money in place before we can go. Definitely.
Okay, that sounds very fair. Thanks. Doug, go ahead.
You may or may not be able to answer this, Adrian, but we had some discussions about this being more than a housing project, that we would try, and I know that you're talking about social service agencies coming there weekly or whatever they schedule to offer their services. Has there been any discussion on how we would deliver life skills training to help give these people a hand up and improve their skills so they can either start a little cottage industry or get meaningful employment?
You know what, between me and you, Doug, there has been a whole lot, but that's part of that pathway that I was talking about, where there's so much more to forming a pathway into prosperity than just the housing. Trying to remember what I called that, but aspiration, I think it like aspires. So what people aspire to do and how to help them, but life skills, like you said, you know, as a start, cooking, we've been talking about that. That's all going to come, but we have so much involved, as you guys with your questions can see, in terms of planning the actual site right now. So thank goodness when we get to that stage, I have reached out in the past to places like Future Oxford who come up training. And I know that, Doug, you've mentioned we have some training through Rotary that would be excellent for this as well. So I look forward to those conversations. Because how many times can you talk about different building materials? I'm telling you, people are going nuts with how many times we've discussed that alone. So yes, definitely looking forward to the nice parts, right? Where people get this chance to move forward with their lives. But they need that home. You know, if you know anybody who's lived this way, which I don't know anybody, but I've just listened to a lot, and they're not even like, you're in survival mode. You know, your ability to even think past, what am I going to eat, where am I going to sleep, it's not even there yet. So we're ready for that when they are, I guess.
Okay. So it seemed like the committee is doing lots of work. So we want to really thank you guys for all of this dedication and all of this hard work that you bring in. And it seemed like most of the question that we have is not only is going to be answered, you're going to be answering at us and showing us how you are approaching one question at a time. So we thank you for that one. So hopefully March we'll be able to get in. I think if something we learned today, it's time right now we open up the doors between the committee, the Pathway to Prosperity Committee, and the Rotary Club so we can understand a little bit more and know where we are at. So it's time to pull out the wheel per se, and then let's see the project, right?
Between us guys, we can't call it Pathway into Prosperity. That's just me talking. The project itself is Rotary Pathways, Transitional Community, I believe, is the word right now. So just so you guys know, that's what we're calling it at the moment, Rotary Pathways Transitional Community. And in terms of the pathway, that's too much for people to look into right now. I just know Doug's on that, and so am I, but that will come.
And you are after my heart. The minute you say Rotary, obviously, you get the big smile. That's good. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for doing so.
Thanks, Adrian. That was a great job in sharing a lot of information that we've been wondering. So thank you so much for doing that. That was great.
That was my line, Doug, by the way, just so you know.
All right.
You're both. Thank you. I've got to go, guys. I'm going to have to bank some time off just for speaking today. I was just going to listen in, but I'll be listening, but I can't talk. I'll have to get back to work here. You guys take care. Looking forward to talking more about this.
Thanks, Adrian. All righty. So that is awesome. So then that would be a little bit good discussion. Doug, is it any possible way we can ask you to put this one in via an email and send it to everybody else that we have the chance to add to it? Because it's nice.
I guess I can. Yeah. I guess I can. May take me a couple of days, but I'll try to do that in the next few days.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Doug. And maybe I owe you a good breakfast when the restaurants open up. For
that. Just put that on the wall. Put that mark on the wall, okay?
I'll do that with pleasure for you. It would be nice because like we heard lots of answers from Adrian, and we were hoping that Adrian just didn't fire up the answers for us. So hopefully those questions will be asked again to the committee, and then we go through them again to make sure that you guys are 100% at ease when it comes to this project. And we want to support as much as we can. Obviously, our club name is behind it, so we want to really make sure that we are supportive to this project too.
Well, I think I trust that the committee. I got full faith on the committee that they're on top of all these things. I think maybe where the crack has been is that we haven't really had good communications with the club members. And also this has started out as a Rotary committee with addition of community helpers and resources. And so, even though the committee's taken on the responsibility of the fundraising and a lot of this stuff, this really technically is still a Rotary Club committee, and we do deserve that committee reports to at least the board and the members periodically. So I think a lot of our questions are based on that we haven't had regular communications and update in terms of committee reports. So I think that'll all get sorted out, and having them come in March, that'll be great. And I know that they're going to have to get going with publicity, but Mike Sheehan did a report for us, was it last week or the week before, with roughly the locations and the status of the land. So I know that they're trying to get the approvals signed, sealed, and delivered before they say too much because of the request of the host party who has the property. But if I recall what Mike said, it's all within the proper zoning. So I think things are coming together, and the committee's just done a super job from what I've heard. And if I just throw in the central building, I know from communications I've had with Mike that he's been looking at kind of like a portable classroom type building for the central community hall with a couple bathrooms in the kitchenette, as Adrian said, and an office for the agency. So I think most of these questions I'm quite confident that the committee's on top of, and we're looking forward to having the official update when they can present to the club.
Thank you, Doug. Thank you. That's awesome. So Doug, from here, if I can ask you, being you are on February pod, can you give us coming soon per se, what's happening in February?
Okay, so well, Adrian asked me to help her with some of the dates. So chip in, Adrian, anything you want. But normally we would have a board meeting on the 2nd, but apparently that's been changed. And we're going to have speakers from the Oxford Mental Health Association on February the 2nd. And I'm not sure what John's plans are for the board meeting, but he'll advise in due course. On the 9th, Adrian has organized a meeting from Woodstock Police covering the topic of human trafficking, human smuggling. And I think based on what I've learned from Adrian is that being on the 401 corridor, we're in a high risk area because of the 401 corridor. So that's a topic that the police are going to be talking about on the 9th. On the 16th, we've got a professional sponsorship coach, I'll call her, or a business advisor, and she specializes in sponsorship plans. So she's going to share with us ways in which we can generate more fundraising through sponsorships for our events. So how do we develop a plan? How do we sell that plan to suppliers and vendors? And she's even in high-level corporate fundraising. And also, how do we give these people maximum bang for their buck in terms of what's in it for them and what will they get out of it? And just talking with her a few days ago, there's all sorts of things that we could do to give our sponsors a lot more credit and a lot more promotion. And the more promotion they get, the more money they're going to pay us. And she was explaining to me, especially now with the virtual, things have shifted for sponsorships. But one of the things that we can boast, number one, is these sponsors want to support a cause, because that elevates their status in the community when they share that they're supporting a cause and a need in the community. And she said, in terms of branding, you've got the top brand of any nonprofit that I know of using the name Rotary. So she said, we've got everything going for us in terms of getting sponsors. So she's going to teach us how to do that. And then on the 23rd, we're going to have a Rotary Foundation gala party. On that evening, there's a Cross Canada Rotary Foundation gala, which is, we're going to have a couple Rotary leaders speak very briefly, but 90% of the 1.5-hour program is going to be entertainment, some professional level entertainment, by the way. And they're obviously hoping that everybody will contribute $120 to Rotary Foundation as part of the fundraising event. And 100 of that will go for a tax receipt and, go towards your Paul Harris credits and that sort of thing. I've suggested to John, and if we have anybody who might offer, assuming the COVID restrictions are relaxed, we could have somebody's home we could go to that's got a big screen, and we could have a watch party from somebody's home. If the COVID is still restricting numbers, then maybe we could go to a couple different homes, invite partners and spouses to join us. And I'm thinking that maybe we could have like a potluck finger foods type party. I'm going to call it a Rotary Foundation watch party. And it requires, somebody to donate to get the link. I've already donated substantially to Rotary Foundation, so we're covered to a certain extent, but that's what's planned for the 23rd. It'll be all Rotarians across Canada joining in on a great Rotary Foundation gala fundraising event. So those are the plans for February.
Awesome. Is there a dress code for that, or?
You can wear anything from pajamas on up.
Okay, sounds very fair. So basically, you're telling me I'm going to be paying $120 and make my own food.
Yeah, that would be right.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Maybe hosting us as well.
All right, sounds very fair. There is something in here that I like, Angela, if she can shed some light. I think there's a conversation happening between you and Doug about the project that we might bring to Woodstock. Something to do with Stratford, the idea. And
don't put her on the spot. I've been tardy in calling her.
I haven't heard anything more than what you told me originally yet, so I'm still in the dark.
I'm going to call you, Angela, and we'll brainstorm some ideas, and we'll get together. Maybe we'll have a big reveal announcement in the next week or two.
All right, I'll be looking forward. I want to hear Angela reveal that thing.
We should, well, we really do need to put this before the board prior to, deciding anything, but Angela and I will work on it, and something will hopefully be coming forward if we can put the pieces together.
Can you give us a little bit bits and pieces from it, or do you gotta just keep it out?
What board? What board, Doug?
Here we go.
The board of directors of this club.
Where are they?
Well, that's another question. No, I'm gonna let Angela and I are gonna keep it in the bushes for another week.
Okay, sounds fair. I hold you to it, Angela. Next week, I want to know a little bit more about this. Okay, hold you to it. Right.
Can I call you after this meeting, Angela?
Sure.
Okay, I'll give you a call.
Look
Or
at
maybe
this.
we can stay on the chat after everyone leaves and do it that way.
Oh, yeah, let's do that. Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
I see big smiles there, so I know that there is lots of positivity happening there. So, chapeau bas for you guys. Friday and Saturday this week, ladies and gentlemen. Friday we are making sandwiches. I want to say big thank you, big hearty thank you to Lee Yates. Lee Yates not only was the person who's brought all the stuff that we need to make nice, beautiful, hearty sandwiches. So we're making ham and cheese sandwiches with mayonnaise on top of them. We're putting them in a nice Ziploc bag, and we are handing them out on Saturday for the less fortunate. Not only he made those items available, I believe if it's not 50 to 100% of them, they are going to be donated by himself. So Lee, thank you very much. I'm not putting you on the spot, but I know 50% that you already did say yes to it. And then another 50%, I'm hoping that you're going to be shy enough to say yes for it too. However,
Well, I have been on the email to Scott at No Frills. I've been trying to get in touch with Chris, who originally, I have no reply from Chris. So I've been trying to make arrangements to pick up the necessary, I have some supplies here now, and to pick up the necessary supplies that we need to complete that project on Friday afternoon. We need about possibly 5 bodies there to make a production line to make those sandwiches.
thank you, Lee. Thank you very much. And I think
Lee, I
that
can pick you up if you want and help you transport that stuff down. If you want me to pick you up and help you carry that stuff, I'm happy to.
I have some of that in my trunk of my car right now, and it's in the pool. I also
Well, just let me know. Just let me know.
okay, will do. I also, for your info, I have a donation of muffins.
yes.
I have 8 dozen muffins, and so we can add them with on Saturday.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that, Lee. And I bet the less fortunate people appreciate it lots more than myself too. But I'm very happy that my club is able to provide that kind of things. So thank you very much for all this huge effort that you are putting in. And I'm happy to announce on Friday that we have already Bill, as usual. We can always rely on Bill, Paul, yourself, Lee, Doug, myself, and Brenda is going to come right after work, and she's going to help us out on Saturday.
And Heather, and don't forget Heather.
Thank you, and Heather. So I'm just mentioning the people's name in here, but you are correct, and Heather too, right? And on Saturday I have Angela, Lee. You said yes, and Bill is there. And I don't know if Paul, are you going to be with us on Saturday? Did you say yes to that too?
Yes, I did.
Okay, thank you, Paul. So I do appreciate that. So on Saturday we have four, 5 of us on Saturday too. So which we should be okay. The more the merrier, ladies and gentlemen. But we are going to be okay on Friday and Saturday. Other than that, sorry, go ahead, Paul.
John, 2 questions. One is, I think because of the COVID restrictions, we're only going to be able to have 5 people working in our preparing those sandwiches. So, we got to keep that in mind. Otherwise, we're going against the rules. It's 5 people we can gather at the present time. Now, the second question I have is, who's going to unlock the building? Is there going to be some supervision there by the people who own it, or, we don't know anything about that building. We don't know anything about the equipment that's in there. So someone's got to be in there to give us the heads up.
That is a very valid and good question, Paul, but we do have Stephen Owen from IPC Church that he's very familiar with that building, and he's actually running part of the people who manage and run that building. He's going to be on hand with us. The next question about 5 people, that is very valid one. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 right now. So what we can do is, in this case, when Brenda come by, I will move out if there's nobody else that's ready to take a break. I will move out, and then we'll do it that way. We'll stagger it per se. So this way we only have 5 people at the same time. So thank you very much for bringing that to my attention again, Paul. This is why I like this club, because I have people like yourself, Paul, that always keep me in track and position me for success. So thank you, I appreciate that. So we'll stagger it, guys. The more we get people, the people who are ready to take a break, they will leave, everything, right? We might as well have more people signed up and then have the problem of letting people go and take a break than not having enough people sign up and have a problem with that. Okay, so is there anything else for the good of Rotary before we end up this evening? Because I think Doug and Angela need some time alone in this platform. Brenda, go ahead. Unmute yourself, please, first.
So I took part in a coaching session on Saturday through Rotary. It's the first of 3 parts. And I just thought I would let you know, I know we're very frustrated with our turnout at times. It's not something that's uncommon in a lot of the clubs. One of the things that we talked about during the coaching sessions, I was coaching with a fellow actually from down in the Maritimes, and he said that he oversees 4 different clubs and he can't get his presidents to even show up for meetings. So he was very frustrated by that, because they were focusing only on, a lot of the clubs down there were focusing only on their area and not doing anything internationally. So everything was just in the local area, and he was trying to get them together and get them more motivated to go outside of the communities and help outside. And he couldn't even get presidents to show up for meetings. So I don't know what the deal is, but it's.
We lost you. Brenda, press the button, the space button. Thank you.
I did. Yeah. So it just seemed to be a common theme through everybody, that everybody seems to be having the same problem. So I don't know what it is, but I just thought you might like to know you're not alone. It doesn't help us, but it might be nice to know it about yourself.
Yes. So I'm going to highlight 2 things, guys, in here. One is very important that I heard it twice. Even the president is not showing up, but our president always there, so we can count on that part of it. Number 2, thank you, Doug. Bill, did you see what Doug do? So, all right. Thank you, Brenda. But you know what? The expectation is higher from us in Woodstock. We are a small town. We are family. We're not only Rotary. We are Rotary family, and it hurts when members of your family they don't find what they're looking for when we meet as together and everything. And that's what we're trying to wrap our brain on, and then see what we want to cater toward every single one of us, so we can enjoy being together. And then, you know what, I want you to miss, when you don't come to Rotary, I want you to be able to say, there's something wrong. I missed something very important. I don't know what happened. I don't know what Lee was saying. I don't know what Paul was saying. I don't know what those questions come up, everything. I want us to all miss that part of it. And you know what, that goes more and more toward management, toward the board, toward the president. So I want to take a lot of that burden on myself. And I'm hoping with your help and with your guidance, all of you guys, we will be able to make that club the way that we all intended to be. Is, you know what, we are family. You know what, we are here for a project. We are here for a reason. We're not just meeting for nothing. We are here for a reason. There's lots of people, less fortunate people, are waiting for us to meet so we can help out, right? And that's what we're doing every every time we meet together, guys. We come up with ideas and projects that we can help the people that need help. And that's why we are Rotarian. So thank you, Brenda, for taking that course. Hopefully you can teach me a couple of things that you learned from there that we can use as tools to our club, and we can get more and more people. Having said that, we are like, we are always more than 60 to 65% available in this club meeting. So yes, we are missing a couple of people. Hopefully they are feeling okay and there is nothing wrong with their health-wise, but eventually we'll get 100%. From here, one more question. Anything else for the good of Rotary before we conclude this evening? Okay, I don't want to say drive safe because you're already at home, all of you, I think, I'm assuming. Besides Adrian, she's at work, I think, but Adrian, when you're done work, drive home safely, please. Thank you very much for coming in, and we'll see most of you on Friday or Saturday. Good night.
Take care. Good to see you guys. Thanks for coming.
Good night, guys.